Hello, hello professional colleagues, hello professional colleagues. Welcome to my session on DT, direct taxation, CFIL, tax related episodes, remaining sections. We have discussed up to the section that is related to section. Let me remember clearly up to section 194. Before section 194M, we have discussed the sections up to section 194M. Yeah, up to 194M, we have discussed what are the tedious sections. Now, let us start from 194M. What 194M tells? 194M tells about tedious and cash withdrawal. So, generally, customers will withdraw the cash from three institutions, namely banking company, cooperative society which is engaged in the business of banking, third one is post office. So, who is the payer? Payer is either banking company or a cooperative society which is engaged in the business of banking or a post office. Payee is who? Payee is obviously any person, either resident or non-resident. Now, what is the time of payment? Time of deduction. Time of deduction is at the time of payment, tax is to be deducted. And what is the rate? Rate is 2% or 5% as the case may be. We will look at to which categories 2% TDS is going to be applicable and to which categories 5% TDS is going to be applicable. Now, last thing is, what is the limit? Threshold limit is either 20 lakh rupees or 1 crore rupees. To which category 20 lakh rupees limit is applicable and to which category 1 crore limit is going to be applicable? Let us see. So, here one important question we have to ask to ourselves is whether the assessee has filed his return of income for the preceding 3 years. If the answer to the question is yes, then immediately we have to ask ourselves that whether the assessee has withdrawn cash from the bank, from the paying institution, either it can be banking company, either it can be a cooperative society which is engaged in the business of banking, or it can be post office for an amount of cash withdrawal for an amount of more than 1 crore rupees. In the previous year, we can say the sum exceeding 1 crore rupees. So, what is sum? Sum includes amount, either single amount, it can exceed 1 crore rupees, or aggregate of amount exceed 1 crore rupees. It can be from one account or it can be from more than one account relating to same institution, same banking company, same post office, same cooperative society which is engaged in the business of banking. So, whether the amount has been withdrawn, the sum exceeding 1 crore rupees has been withdrawn. If answer to the question is yes, then banking company or financial institution or we can say cooperative society which is engaged in the business of banking or post office has to deduct TDS at the rate of 2% on the sum exceeding 1 crore rupees. Means up to 1 crore rupees, no TDS is going to be deductible. A sum excess of 1 crore rupees, 2% on the excess amount, TDS has to be deducted by the banking company. Here, whether the assessee has filed his return of income for the preceding 3 years, if the answer to the question is no, then we have to ask ourselves whether the time limit applicable or due date applicable for the return of income has expired. If the due date applicable to the return of income has not expired, then we have to look at the preceding 3 years, preceding the year in year for which the due date filing the return of income has not expired. For the preceding 3 years, whether the return of income has been filed. If the return of income is not filed for 1 year, or return of income is not filed for all 3 years, 1 year or 2 years or all 3 years. If the return of income is not filed for 1 year or 2 years out of 3 years, then the limit of 1 crore rupees is going to be applicable, not the limit of 20 lakh rupees. If all 3 years return of income has not been filed by the assessee combinedly or cumulatively, then the limit for which the TDS is going to be applicable is 20 lakh rupees, means a sum exceeding 20 lakh rupees, cash withdrawal exceeding 20 lakh rupees, TDS obligations are going to be triggered, and from a sum exceeding 20 lakh rupees for up to 1 crore rupees, means less than equal to 1 crore rupees, rate of TDS applicable is 2%. A sum exceeding 1 crore rupees, rate of TDS applicable is 5%. So 2% is going to be applicable on sum exceeding 2 crore rupees to 1 crore rupees to 20 lakh rupees to 1 crore rupees, and sum exceeding 1 crore rupees, 5% TDS is going to be applicable. Here, for example, let us take an example. If an assessee has filed his return of income, but he has filed belated return, or if he has filed revised return, or he has filed normal return only, but he has been revised, or he has filed nil return, whether we can say assessee has not filed his return of income? No. Here, return can be anything. It can be belated return, it can be normal return, it can be revised return, it can be nil return. If the return of income has been filed by the assessee, it is new that return of income has been filed for the previous year. Next thing, if the assessee has himself is not eligible or not required to file his return of income because his income is less than basic exemption limit, then in the situation, how we can say that what in the situation how the TDS is going to be applicable? Here, the Act says that if the assessee his total income is less than basic exemption limit and he is not required to file his return of income, if his cash withdrawal is more than 20 lakh rupees, exceeding 20 lakh rupees for the previous year, then in the situation it is deemed that he has not filed his return of income, and the limit of 20 lakh rupees is going to be applicable, and if the cash withdrawal is exceeding 20 lakh rupees but less than or equal to 1 crore rupees, TDS is going to be 2%, TDS rate is going to be 2%, and the cash withdrawal exceeding 1 crore rupees, TDS rate is going to be 5%. Another thing you have to keep in mind is this 194N is not going to be applicable for specified entities. Those are central government. When any payments are going to be made to central government or state government, TDS under 194N is not going to be applicable. Any payments that are made to a banking company, a cooperative society which is engaged in the business of banking, and a post office, TDS implications are not. TDS under 194N is not going to be applicable, and it is not applicable for a franchisee of automated ATM machine, or it is CRS, that is cash replenishment services agencies. TDS under 194N is not going to be applicable, and it is also not applicable for authorized dealers or sub-dealers, or it can be subcontractors or sub-dealers, authorized dealers. For all these persons, 194N is not going to be applicable, and 194N is not going to be applicable for full-fledged money changers or money exchangers and their authorized sub-dealers which are registered under Reserve Bank of India. For them also, TDS under 194N is not going to be applicable, and it is not going to be applicable for traders and commission agents who are registered under Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee. Though for them also, TDS under 194N is not going to be applicable. Next we will discuss about one of the beautiful sections, section 194O, MNOO. Okay, so this is TDS on any amount paid by the e-commerce operator to e-commerce participant. Now, what is meant by e-commerce operator? E-commerce operator means an entity which has the facility or platform of electronic commerce, of selling of goods or provision of services. We can say that he is an e-commerce operator. For example, let's say take an example of Amazon, Flipkart, Walmart. All these e-commerce websites, all these are e-commerce operators only. Next, who is an e-commerce participant? E-commerce participant means a person who participates in e-commerce or who sells his goods or provision of services through e-commerce. He is called as e-commerce participant. So, payer is any person, either resident or non-resident, who is an e-commerce operator. Payee is resident person who is an e-commerce participant. And what is the time for which the payment is, what is the time of deduction? Time of deduction is credit or payment, whichever is earlier. And what is the rate of TDS? Rate of TDS is 1% of the gross sale consideration. and limit that will be applicable. Threshold limit is 5 lakh rupees. Up to 5 lakh rupees, no TDS is going to be deductible. Amount exceeding 5 lakh rupees, TDS has to be deductible. TDS is going to be deductible. Next, section 194O is not going to be applicable for certain type of persons. Those are here. The Act has clearly mentioned that it is not going to be applicable for central government or state government entities, and it is not going to be applicable. Section 194O is not going to be applicable for e-auctioneer or e-auctioneer and e-auction entities, where here the thing is section 194 is not going to be applicable for them if they satisfy 5 conditions. First one is the facility that is provided by e-auctioneer through e-portal is for only price discovery but not deciding the price at which the goods are going to be sold to the buyers. Second thing is the transaction relating to selling of goods or provision of services is outside the e-portal. Third point is the price at which the goods are being sold or services are being provided is not being known by the e-auctioneer. Fourth point is here the payment that is going to be made through to the seller of the goods is not through e-commerce e-auctioneer, but it is directly paid to the seller himself by the buyer. Fifth point is seller or client who has utilized the services of e-auctioneer or e-auction services, for that he has paid some commission or brokerage to the e-auctioneer owner or e-auctioneer or e-auction owner after deducting TDS and the respective sections. If these 5 conditions are satisfied cumulatively, then we can say that section 194 is not going to be applicable. Section 194O is not going to be applicable for the transactions that are being carried out relating to buying and selling of goods, buying and selling of securities or commodities through recognized stock exchanges or clearing houses, clearing corporations, or recognized stock exchanges that are established under International Financial Service Centers, International Financial Service Centers, okay, International Financial Service Centers, and which are located in the IFSC category, and transactions relating to energy saving certificates or electricity or renewable energy certificates, where energy saving certificates are tradable in power exchanges. All these are exempt. Means whatever the transactions that are being carried out through these activities, section 194O is not going to be applicable. Serious implications are not going to arise. Third point is the here right away section 194 is not going to be applicable if 3 conditions are satisfied. First condition is the individual or HUF has provided the declaration along with his fund. Second point is the individual or HUF has carried out a transaction where the value of the transaction is up to 5 lakh rupees. And third point is individual or HUF has made arrangements for himself. These 3 conditions are satisfied, then we can say that TDS under 194 is not going to be applicable for individual or HUF. So we can say these are the electronic participants, e-commerce participants. Next, if there are some of the clarifications that have been provided by the CBDT through circulars, through notifications. Those are, first one is if section 194O and section 194Q have been applied for a transaction, or the transaction comes under the purview of section 194O and section 194Q, then section 194 TDS has to be deducted from under section 194O rather than section 194Q. If the transaction comes under the purview of section 194O and section 206C 1 capital H, then TDS has to be deductible under section 194O. If the transaction comes under the purview of section 194Q and section 206C 1 capital H, then TDS has to be deducted under section 194Q. If the TDS TDS has been already collected under section 206C on capital H, then again the buyer is not required to deduct TDS under section 194Q. Double deduction will never happen. Next. Next point is here section 194Q. What does section 194Q tells about? Section 194Q tells about the transaction TDS on the selling of goods to the other entities. Selling of goods to other entities. Here, who is the payer? Payer is any person, whether resident or non-resident. Payee is resident person, and rate of TDS that is applicable is 0.1% of the sale consideration. And what is the limit? Threshold limit. Threshold limit is up to 60 lakh rupees. Means a transaction is up to 60 lakh rupees, no TDS under section 194Q. The transaction exceeds 50 lakh rupees, then TDS under 194Q triggers. Next, what is the time for which TDS has to be deducted? TDS has to be deducted either at the time of credit or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier. So, what are the implications or obligations that will arise under section 194Q? So, here, section 194Q has been specifically brought out for reduction of TDS. Here, the things, as we already discussed, some of the clarifications that have been provided, those are, first one is, in section 194Q, one thing you have to remember is 194Q is the sale consideration. What is sale consideration? Sale consideration includes consideration relating to selling of goods where the buyer is required to deduct TDS and pays the remaining amount to the seller of the goods. There is no e-commerce operator will be involved in this transaction. And next thing is exemption. To which category of transactions section 194Q is not going to be applicable? Obviously, we have already discussed in section 194O the transactions relating to selling of securities and commodities through Recognized Stock Exchange and clearing corporations and Recognized Stock Exchanges established in international financial service centers, and transactions relating to electricity or renewable energy certificates or clean energy certificates or energy saving certificates tradable in recognized power exchanges. For all these transactions, section 194Q is not going to be applicable. Next, section 194Q specifically tells section 194Q and its transaction comes under the purview of section 194Q and section 206C. Then section 194Q, TDS has to be deducted under section 194Q instead of section 206C on capital H. Just right. Yeah. Some of the points we have missed in section 194O, those are exemption related points. If the transaction has been taken place, there will be some payment gateways where the payment is going to be routed. So the payment gateways has no responsibility for deduction of TDS under 194O. And another transaction, the transactions between insurance and insurance aggregators, insurance agents and insurance aggregators. So insurance agents and insurance aggregators has no role in the transactions between the insurance companies and customers or policy holders in the subsequent years. So here insurance agents or insurance aggregators has no responsibility or for deduction of TDS under 194O, but any payments that are made by the insurance company to these insurance agents or insurance aggregators, TDS has to be deducted. TDS has to be deducted under respective sections. I think it is 194D, Insurance Commission, TDS on Insurance Commission. Next, here professional services include two types of services, professional services and technical services. If professional, in case of TDS and if the professional services or technical services are provided online, then in that situation TDS under 194O is going to be triggered, but TDS under 194K is not going to be triggered. Next point we have to consider here is if any service or technical service is provided if the transaction is covered under section 194O, but TDS is not going to be triggered because it has not exceeded the threshold limit, then we cannot consider it for the purpose of deducting of TDS in any other section. Means any other sections in the chapter is not going to be applicable for the transactions for the purpose of deducting TDS. Or if the TDS has been deducted under section 194O, under no other section TDS is not going to be deductible for the same transaction. Next, under section 194Q, calculation of threshold limit. How we have to calculate the threshold limit? So, this section 194Q has come into the play from 1/7/2021. So, 1/7/2021, CBDT has said that, or CBDT has clarified that, in order to calculate the threshold limit of 50 lakh rupees, we have to consider the transactions that have happened from 1/4/2021. So, the transactions relating to selling of goods or provision of services that happened from 1/4/2021 to 30/6/2021 is the cumulative value of those transactions exceeds 50 is equals to 50 lakh rupees or exceeds 50 lakh rupees. Then whatever the transactions that will happen after 1/7/2021 onwards, TDS is going to be applicable under section 194Q. If any advance payment that have been received before 1/7/2021, then what are the TDS implications on the advance payment? Here, what the timing of deduction of TDS is either credit or payment, whichever is earlier. In case of credit is earlier, if the credit has been happened before 1/7/2021, then in that situation we cannot section 194Q is not going to be applicable, because if the credit happened before 1/7/2021, but before 1/7/2021 section 194Q is not in existence, because section 194Q is not going to be applicable. If the payment happened before 1/7/2021, then in that situation also, when the payment happened relating to the transaction, section 194Q is not in existence, so section 194Q is not going to be applicable in relation to advance payment. Next, GST component or purchase return related adjustment. Here, if any GST component is involved in the transaction, or this GST component has to be adjusted. If the transaction value includes GST component, then if the invoice has separately shown the GST component, then the TDS has to be calculated on the value which is excluding the GST component. If, for example, if it is related to advance payment, and advance payment before 1/7/2021, if any after 1/7/2021 advance payment has been made, but the advance payment has been credited, means credit has been happened at the earliest, then in that situation we can clear if the invoice value clearly shows the separation between the TDS amount and the amount of value of services or goods, then TDS has to be GST amount and value of service of goods, then TDS has to be deductible on the value of service of goods or services. If the value, if the payment happened, means payment has been made, GST payment, advance payment has been made at the earliest, then in that situation there is no scope for determining whether the GST component has been shown separately or not, because invoice has not been raised, only payment has been made. Then in that situation, TDS has to be deducted on the entire invoice value, including the GST component. TDS has to be deductible under section 194Q. Next, adjustment of purchase returns. No adjustment is purchase returns. So here, in case of purchase returns, if in case of purchase returns, we have to take this into two categories. First category is if the purchase returns are in the form of this category of exchange of goods, then in that situation, no adjustment is required to be made. If it is not in the form of exchange of goods, then adjustment has to be made for subsequent purchase of transactions with the same seller. Next. Same seller. Next. Can a non-resident can be the buyer of the goods? Yes. Non-resident, section 194(2) shall not be apply where the non-resident who purchased the goods for the purpose not exclusively related to the permanent establishment in India, then section 194(2) is not going to be applicable. If those are exclusively related to the permanent establishment in India, section 194(2) is going to be triggered. Next. Seller is a person who has exempt income. For example, if the seller has exempt income, then in that situation, section 194(2) is not going to be triggered, and section 261 capital X is also not going to be triggered if the seller. Sorry for the disturbance. If seller's income is exempt, if part of the income of the seller is exempt, then if the part of the income is exempt, then in that situation, section 194(2) is going to be applicable. Okay, next. Cross application. Section 194(2) is going to be applicable on advance payment, which already discussed, and section 194(2) is not going to be applicable in the year of incorporation of the seller. Means here the limit that has to be taken is the seller who is selling the goods, his total turnover should exceed 10 crore rupees in the preceding financial year. In the year of incorporation, generally there is no, this is the first year itself, there is no previous year where the turnover exceeds 10 crore rupees. So section 194(2) is not going to be applicable in the year of incorporation. And turnover or gross receipts or sales includes only the receipts from business activities. Receipts from non-business activities are not going to be considered in the turnover. Next. Another point we have to clearly see here is cross application of transactions. Cross application of transactions and cross application we have already seen, and non-applicability. Non-applicability also we have seen. Tax is deductible under any other provisions of the Act other than section 194(2). 194(2) is not going to be applicable, or tax is already collected under section 206(3) other than section 206(1) capital H, then 194(2) shall not apply. Next, tax collected at source, section 206(3) capital H, that is transactions relating to selling of goods where the value exceeds 50 lakh rupees in the previous year. Here, who is the collector? Collector is the person who has sold the goods, and seller, he can be resident or non-resident, and the turnover of the seller in the previous year, in the preceding financial year, exceeds 10 crore rupees, and who is the collectee? Collectee is the buyer who purchases the goods. It can be resident or non-resident, and what is the timing for collection of TDS? Collection of TCS timing is at the time of receipt of the consideration. And what is the rate of TCS that is going to be applicable? The rate of TCS that is going to be applicable is 0.1% of the total sale consideration. And what is the threshold limit? Threshold limit is 50 lakh rupees. If the transaction is up to 50 lakh rupees, no TCS is going to be applicable. If the transaction exceeds 50 lakh rupees, then TCS at the rate of 0.1% is going to be collected is going to be deducted on the gross amount of on the gross amount. Okay, next is going to be deducted, and non-applicability of section 2061 capital H. Section 2061 capital H is not applicable in case of the transactions relating to securities or commodities in recognized stock exchanges or clearing corporations or recognized stock exchanges in IFSC centers, and transactions relating to electricity or renewable energy certificates or clean energy certificates or energy saving certificates that are tradable in power exchanges. Section 2061 capital H is not going to be applicable, and here the seller, the buyer of the book does not include persons who purchases the goods, that is central government or state government or local authority or embassies or legations or consulates or trade representatives of foreign states or commissions or foreign commissions. All these are excluded, as any other person or person who is importing the goods into India or any other person that has been notified by the CBDT or central government. All these are excluded. Means the transactions with this person, section 2061 capital H is not going to be triggered. And if the buyer has not submitted his pawn to the seller, then TDS at the rate of 1% is going to be deducted instead of 0.1%, and there is no need of any adjustment of GST or sales returns in respect of TCS in respect of section 2061 capital H. GST component and sales returns, there is no need of any adjustment to the sale consideration. Next, section 194P. Section 194P is TDS in relation to the transactions with the senior citizens. Here, payer is banking company and payee is resident person whose age is 75 years or more, and rate of TDS is rates in force, and here the payee, that is the resident senior citizen, should have only the income from pension. He should not have any other income, and the income has to be calculated after taking into consideration of basic exemption limit and deductions under section 80C to 80U, including 80P, and after allowing rebate under 87A, and we have to deduct TDS under this. After calculating the amount of tax, we have to deduct TDS, and we have to deduct TDS. Exemption from filing of, the person has exemption from filing of return of income, and he should make declaration to the banking company in form 12BDA. Next, section 195, that is transactions with the payments that are made, some of the payments that are made to non-residents. If any transactions with non-residents, it is a payer is all persons, either resident or non-resident. Payee is non-resident, not being a company or foreign company, and at the time of credit or payment, whichever is earlier, rate of TDS is rates in force or DTWA rate, whichever is available. There is no limit. And explanation 2 to section 195 subsection 1 clearly says whether the non-resident has any business residence in India or any business established in India or business connection in India or any permanent establishment in India or any presence of business in India. It does not matter. If the transaction happens between a non-resident and a non-resident, where non-resident has the income that is accrued or arises in India, then TDS has to be deducted by that non-resident. Obviously, resident individual is required to be deduct TDS under section 195. Obviously, certificate of non-reduction of TDS tax at source. Here, non-resident has an option to make an application to the assessing officer to obtain a certificate for non-reduction of TDS. If the assessing officer has granted a certificate for non-reduction of TDS and this certificate has been produced to the payer, then no TDS is required to, no TDS is going to be deducted from the amount that is going to be paid. Next, section 196. Section 196 talks about interest or dividend or any other sum payable to government, Reserve Bank of India or certain corporations, no deduction of any amount on the sums payable to the government, Reserve Bank of India, corporations, mutual funds under 10 section 23B. So here sums that are payable as dividend, interest or interest on shares or any other income relating to dividend or interest. Next, some of the summary of sections of withholding of taxes. There are some summary sections where withholding of taxes arises. Those are any interest income that has been paid by the business trust to its unit holders. Business trust which is received from special purpose vehicle to the unit holders, then TDS is going to be deductible at the rate of 5% under section 194 LBA at the rate of 5% plus surcharge plus cess. If it is a dividend income that is received by the business trust from the special purpose vehicle and it has been distributed to the unit holders. If the special purpose vehicle has opted for section 115BAA, then no TDS is going to be deductible. If the special purpose vehicle has not opted for section 115BAA, that means the dividend income is exempt in the hands of unit holders. Here the dividend income is taxable in the hands of unit holders if the special purpose vehicle has not opted for section 115BAA. Then in this situation, rate of TDS is 10% plus surcharge plus cess. Next, section 194 LBA, section 2, section 194 LBA, section 3, section 194 LBB, section 194 LBC, section 2, section 194 LBA, section 3 deals with distribution of rental income by the REIT received from to the unit holders. TDS that has been deducted is rates in force, business trust to the unit holders, and section 194 LBB, section 194 LBB, that is dividend income from unit holders by the income received by the investment fund on the investments that have been made. Rate of TDS that is deductible is rates in force, and income that has been received by the mutual funds, securitization trust, rate of TDS that is deductible is rates in force. Next, section 194L, section 194, 196A, section 196B, section 196C. Section 196B. Section 196A deals about the income of units received income from the units of mutual fund or unit trust of India, mutual fund under 10 section 23A or unit trust of India 10 section 35 which has been distributed to non-resident or foreign company. Then rate of TDS that is deductible is 20% plus surcharge plus health and education cess. And section 196B, section 196B, that is income from units of mutual fund or unit trust of India that have been purchased in foreign currency that have been distributed to the offshore funds. Then rate of TDS that is applicable is 10% plus surcharge plus health and education cess. Section 196C, that is income received from the dividend of bonds of Indian company that have been purchased in foreign currency that have been distributed to the non-resident, then in the form of GDR that have been distributed to the non-resident. Rate of TDS that is deductible is 10% plus surcharge plus health and education cess. Section 196B, that is, this is divided into two categories. First category is income of foreign institutional investors of securities. Rate of TDS that is deductible is 20% plus surcharge plus health and education cess. Income from specified fund of securities. Rate of TDS is deductible is 10% plus surcharge plus health and education cess. Then section 197, that is lower reduction of TDS or non reduction of TDS. Here, if the assessee has made an application to the assessing officer for lower reduction of TDS or non reduction of TDS, if the assessing officer has granted a certificate for lower reduction of TDS or non reduction of TDS, and the certificate has been produced by the assessee to the payer, then the payer has to deduct TDS at the rate that has been mentioned in the certificate, or should not deduct TDS if TDS is not required to be deducted has been mentioned in the certificate. Next, section 197A, that is no deduction of TDS in certain cases. TDS is not going to be deducted if the assessee has made an application to the assessing officer and if the assessee's total income is less than basic exemption limit, and assessee's income consists of only interest income and income from National Savings Certificates, NSS, that is National Savings Certificates, then no TDS is required to be deducted. Next, miscellaneous provisions. Under miscellaneous provisions, we will talk about two provisions, section 206AA, section 206AB. Section 206AA is mandatory furnishing of funds. permanent account number. Here, if the assessee has not furnished the permanent account number to the payer, then in this situation, TDS is going to be deductible at higher rate. The higher rates are higher of the following rates, that is, rates that have been specified in the respective sections, or twice rates that are rates that is in force, or 20% for 5% in case of section 194Q and section 194Q and 194O, and if non section 206CB, section 206AD related to non-filers, where the person has failed to file his return of income, then TDS is going to be deducted at higher rate. That is, the person who has not furnished his return of income for the previous years, for any of the previous years, or for any one previous year, then TDS is going to be deducted at higher rate. That is, higher of the following rates: twice the rates that have been mentioned in the respective sections, or twice the rates in force, or 20%, or 5%, or 5%, whichever is higher. And section 206AB is not applicable for section 192, 192A, 194, 194B, 194N, 194BB, 194D, 194LBC, and specified person that have been mentioned. Specified person means the person who has not furnished his return of income for the two preceding financial years. Financial years is a specified person where TDS is going to be deductible at higher rates, higher of the following rates. Next section, tax collected at source. Tax collected at source. So here TCS, tax collected at source. When it comes to tax collected at source, here the transaction is sale transaction, means the seller of the goods is selling the goods to the buyer, and seller is collector and buyer is collecting, and seller is going to be collect an amount in the form of TCS from the buyer along with the sale consideration. This is the entire transaction of TCS, concept of TCS. Now, the TCS starts with section 206C. Section 206C subsection 1 deals about TCS in respect of different category of goods. There are totally 5 category of goods. First one is timber. Let's talk about highest category, highest TCS rate. Highest TCS rate is 5%. It is applicable for pendulous. Pendulous, if the person has sold pendulous to another person, the buyer of the pendulous has to pay the TCS at the rate of 5% of the sale consideration. And second category of TCS rate is 2.5%. It is applicable for 3 category of items. First category is timber, that is which has been procured under the license or forest license. Timber that has been procured under any other mode, and it is also applicable in respect of any other forest ordinance. So rate TCS rate is 5%, and for all other products the rate TCS rate is 1%, whether it is alcoholic liquor for human consumption, or it can be scrap, it can be minerals, it can be mining minerals being coal, lignite, and iron ore. TCS rate is 1%. Next, lease or license. Lease, here section 206C 1 capital C. Section 206C 1 capital C deals with lease or license of the toll plaza, parking lots, mining of minerals, mining or quarries. All these covered under section 206C 1 capital C, and rate of TDS that is applicable is 2% of the sale consideration, and 2% of the sale consideration. Here, what is the definition of mining and quarrying? Mining and quarrying will not include mining of minerals, which are minerals. Minerals include petroleum and petroleum products. These petroleum products will not come under the definition of mining. So, if any transaction relating to petroleum products happens, then TCS is not going to be applicable. TCS under section 196C is not going to be applicable. And any incidental activities relating to mining of petroleum products also, section 206C 1 capital C is not going to be triggered. Next, section 206C 1 capital D. Section 206C 1 capital D deals with what? Section 206C 1 capital D deals with sale of motor. Section 206C 1 capital F. Section 261 capital F is sale of motor vehicle of value exceeding 10 lakh rupees. Means the seller has sold, here collector is who? Collector is the seller who is selling the motor vehicle, and collecting is buyer who is purchasing the motor vehicle. Motor vehicles includes all type of motor vehicles, including cheap type of motor vehicles and luxury motor vehicles. And timing of the collection of TCS. The TCS will be collected at the time of receipt of sale consideration. And what is the threshold limit? Threshold limit is 10 lakh rupees, and threshold limit is 10 lakh rupees. Here, the one thing we have to remember here is, here clearly is, here transactions relating to motor vehicles are categorized into two categories, that is transactions between retailers to customers and transactions between manufacturers to retailers, or retailers or distributors or wholesalers, you can say dealers. The transactions between the retailers and customers will come under the purview of section 261 capital F. Transactions between manufacturers to wholesalers or dealers comes under the purview of section 261 capital H. Then you can clearly say the sale based upon the sale consideration. If the sale consideration is less than 10 lakh rupees, or if the sale consideration exceeds 50 lakh rupees, then it comes under the purview of section 261 capital H, and the rate of period that is applicable is 0.1% of the sale consideration. If the sale consideration exceeds 10 lakh rupees and if it is less than 50 lakh rupees, then section 261 capital F is going to be triggered, and the rate of period that is applicable is obviously 10% of the sale consideration. Next, no adjustment of sales returns or discounts or indirect taxes is going to be applicable against the sale consideration. Fuel that is supplied to the non-resident airlines from at the airports is section 261 capital F is not going to be triggered. Next, section 261 capital G, that is overseas remittance or overseas tour package. This is divided into two categories: overseas remittance and overseas tour package. Overseas remittance means collector is the person who is remitting, who is providing remittance services. Collectee is the person who is purchasing the foreign currency. Timing is at the time of making payment, or at the time of receipt, whichever is earlier. And rate of period is obviously 5%, and it will change also. And threshold limit is depends upon the category of transaction. So overseas remittance, here we have to divide it into two categories. Overseas remittance has been made for the transactions other than overseas tour package program, and the amount has not exceeded 7 lakh rupees. Then in the situation, no TCS is going to be collected. If the remittance has been made for the overseas for the transactions other than overseas tour package, and the amount of remittance exceeds 7 lakh rupees, then TCS at the rate of 5% is going to be collected. And if the remittance has been made in respect of any educational loan that has been taken under section 194 under section 80E from a banking company, and remittance has been made, then TCS at the rate of 0.5%, and if the amount of remittance is exceeding 7 lakh rupees, then TCS at the rate of 0.5% of the sale consideration has to be collected. Then in case of overseas tour package, remittance has been made in terms of overseas tour package, and if the amount of remittance exceeds 7 lakh rupees, then TCS has to be deducted at the rate of 5%. In respect of TCS has to be deducted at the rate of, if the aggregate amount exceeds 7 lakh rupees, then TCS has to be deducted at the rate of 5%. And if the aggregate amount does not exceed 7 lakh rupees, then no TCS is going to be collected. And these are the provisions relating to TCS. Section 261 capital H we have already discussed. Okay, thank you very much for patience listening. Goodbye.